Hello, this is Douglas Williamson once again, and I'm once again here with Dr. Petra Kuenkel. I'm a full member of the Club of Rome, talking about her new report to the Club of Rome, Stewarding Sustainability Transformations. The last time we were together, we were talking about patterns of aliveness, and we started to talk about some of the way those can be practically applied, and now we're going to break it down into something that you mentioned the last time, which is multi-stakeholder partnerships. How can we shift this discourse about patterns of aliveness, talking about something that's quite common now in the sustainability discourse, which is multi-stakeholder partnerships?
At the core of really high quality multi-stakeholder partnerships is systems aliveness. That's the connection. But what one needs to consider is that if we think about implementing the SDGs, I think this has now become common practice. We need to actually work between multiple actors, and that could be kind of between government agencies and private sector, research institutions, civil society, etc. But it could also be between communities and mining operations, etc. So the one thing is clear: SDG implementation needs to take place in multi-stakeholder partnerships, and that's where there is the goal number 17 on partnerships. Now, the question is, how does this take place? Despite the fact that there are more multi-stakeholder partnerships, there is, in my view, not enough knowledge about really how to do this, how to set up process architectures that work really for tangible outcomes in climate resilience, in city development, in value chain development, etc. And this is where the patterns of aliveness theory is quite interesting, because multi-stakeholder partnerships are a laboratory of a different kind of human interaction system.
Okay, Dr. Kuenkel, I have to agree with you. It's my perception as well that there isn't really a good capacity for bringing the necessary partnership collaboration to sustainability work and to transformations work. Maybe we could shift it again a little bit down to you have talked as well not only about this aliveness being within these multi-stakeholder partnerships for sustainability, but the last time we spoke, we also started to get a little bit more practical. And I wanted to ask you now a little bit about what are the sort of factors or collaboration catalysts that really lead to aliveness in a system, or specifically in a multi-stakeholder partnership?
You're hitting a very important point. I have so far kind of let's say, being very adverse to the term factor, because when we talk about factors, we're still in a very linear world and think we might need to add a certain factor and then things work out. So I'm not saying what I want to propose is entirely different, but what I suggest is to say, let's look at a multi-stakeholder collaboration process as a pattern process. So we need to, right from the start, look at what's the pattern of interaction that we create. So what are the conditions for that pattern to emerge in a way that this collaboration is successful in the sense of tangible output, but also in the sense of that people feel alive. It's fun. And I'm not saying every multi-stakeholder collaboration is easy. It's maybe the opposite. You know, that multi-stakeholder collaboration between different people who are not used to work together, have different interests, have hidden agendas, etc., is usually very difficult, very complicated. However, we need to create step by step a pattern that works for the betterment of what needs to happen. So that for me is the connection. If you now say, what about factors? The question is now, what are the conditions that we can put in place for a pattern to become more conducive, more constructive, more co-creative? And it doesn't mean it's all harmony, because people sometimes fight, and sometimes they need to fight, and sometimes you need to have disagreements, because only through the disagreements you finally reach a better solution. So it's not about harmony, but it's about a constructive criticism. It is about constructive fights of interests, it's about laying things on the table and negotiating, etc. But it is also creating an identity of that multi-stakeholder system where people feel it really is worth investing my time because I can see we will make a difference together. So it's about the factors.
I mean, I think what you just said for me very much it pertains or really talks about what I consider to be a very important aspect of collective leadership, and is that having that collaboration capacity within a collaboration system where the common good is really the overriding value, and disagreements or conflicts can occur, but in a constructive and respectful way. And I think that this is getting, you're moving into this kind of a zone there, and maybe what would be interesting to hear from you is just an illustration or an example of where you really saw a multi-stakeholder partnership exhibit these patterns of aliveness, and how you saw that, or at least some of the things that you saw play out.
It's quite interesting. I've been in supporting multi-stakeholder partnerships for about 25 years now, and I've seen partnerships at the local level, partnerships at the national level, regional level, with companies, driven by NGOs, in value chain development, in resource management, etc., and at the global level, etc. So what is now quite interesting, it is always human beings, and people tend to forget it because people are so concerned about the issue that they don't become aware of the level of, let's say, the human factor that comes in, and that actually needs to be dealt with in a much more aware way. So the issue about, the practical issue is about how to get people into enhanced collaboration literacy, knowing what are the conditions that we need to create in order to be successful. And shall I talk about these conditions?
Sure, a little bit.
So you can actually create from the principles of the patterns of aliveness theory, you can translate this to the dimensions of the collective leadership compass, and you can extend it now and to create a monitoring system for the quality of multi-stakeholder partnerships. So you will be asking about cooperative delivery, you will be asking about the type of engagement that has taken place, you will be asking about what are the new pathways that are coming in, you will be asking about the collective intelligent processes and the ways of communicating, you will be asking about what's the collective value that we really create, and you will be asking about what is the contextual impact of that multi-stakeholder collaboration. So the patterns of aliveness theory helps to create a quality multi-stakeholder process architecture, and that is core, that many more people are versatile in how to handle this and how to do this.
Petra, can you give me one short, concrete example of how you saw this play out?
I'll give you two. I saw it playing out in the multi-stakeholder collaboration initiated by a small NGO in Cairo, which is a city in southern Tunisia, and how they engaged many more stakeholders into rethinking the city development in a multi-stakeholder process, and where all of the elements of the patterns of aliveness theory were actually translated into tangible action. And I saw it on a global scale, for example, a global value chain project where many stakeholders were involved from different countries, from many companies, from NGOs, etc., kind of conflicting NGOs and conflicts between NGOs and companies, etc., where it was about setting up a mainstream standard for a global value chain, and where slowly by slowly introducing the different dimensions of the principles and translated into the collective leadership compass actually led to being able to act together.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank Dr. Petra Kuenkel once again for her great input. And And we are, we've been talking about her new report to the Club of Rome, Stewarding Sustainability Transformations. That's all for this episode, but we'll be back next time with another episode. Thanks.